insightful reporting I can bring is usually about the interpersonal relationships. But I got this awesome stat from Matt Williams, who's one of our expert researchers at ESPN last night, where LeBron's average touch, so the amount of time the ball was in his hands last night, was under 2.5 seconds, which was the shortest amount of time he's had the ball in his hands before making a dribble pass shoot decision since player tracking began in 2013, 2014. So, like, if it looked crisp, that's because it literally was. He came out the cannon firing on all cylinders, and that facilitation, it was contagious. It was the best offensive showing that the Lakers have had all season. And I think if you're a Lakers fan, you got to be really encouraged for what you saw last night.
Dave, I'm with you. I am not really that much into analytics. I'm much more into the interpersonal stuff. And so when I look at what you wrote this morning, I'll go right to the end of it rather than to the beginning of it. You asked this question, how will LeBron adapt if he has to? And I thought it was an interesting point, not surprising, but most of the guys on this team are closer in age to Bronny than they are to LeBron. I thought LeBron did an incredible job last night of adapting. It was certainly one of the big question marks I had going in. So just talk to us a little bit about this analysis of LeBron's adaptation.
Listen, he says that he sat back and watched these games intently. We know the basketball mind that he has and was finding places within the game as he viewed them, and I'm sure you watched some film as well, where I can fill that gap and be the WD-40 to keep the engine moving. And it was a brilliant fit in game one. Now, does LeBron James need to get more than 7 shots a game? Absolutely. And that's going to be incumbent on his teammates to then return the favor. But in terms of the first step, it was really good. I think I was very curious just to see his movement of his body and how fluid it would look. I thought that was a much higher grade than I anticipated giving him in his first game, having played it in more than 200 days. Like I thought, and if he has that movement, he can be an effective defender. I mean, when he gets in trouble defensively is when he's not down in the stance, he's standing up, teams are blowing by him out of the perimeter, he has to foul, et cetera. I didn't see much of that. So I think you take what you saw and then you listen to what you heard, and everything he was talking about was team-oriented. Again, the Lakers, they are not a franchise built upon encouraging regular season wins in November. However, it was a very good night for the Lakers.
So, Dave, when he was asked, I believe by Mark Medina at practice the other day about how he would fit in, he was kind of incredulous about the response and, made the comment about, look, since I was a little kid, right, I will, I've played the right way. I can fit in on any team. He talked about positionless basketball when he was with Spoelstra. And, yesterday he kind of doubled down on that. I thought it was kind of a hilarious response. I don't know the context of the question in the postgame, but Lindsay, can we play that audio? I mean, Dave was there, but for those that didn't hear it, the audio of him responding to those critics or people that questioned how he would fit in the postgame last night.
Yes, hang on 1 second, please.
By the way, it's the last paragraph of Dave's piece today, George. It's the exact quote. The one we're about to play, that's how Dave finished this piece. So let's go ahead and take a listen to it. Or not.
I've got it. Hang on 1 second.
I know you got it. I know you got your finger on the button. You want me to do my LeBron impression here?
Said it was at yesterday's practice, post-practice. I can fit in with anybody. I don't even understand why that was even a question. What's wrong with these people out here? I can fit in right away with anybody. So, just watching the guys the first 14 games that I missed, the first 14, just watching them and seeing. I was just putting myself in position, while I was watching the games of how I can help the team and how I can be successful to help those guys. And, I still able to gain a lot of eyes when I'm driving the ball or have the ball, things of that nature. And, I had a big fella down there, big five down there, and my guy Gabe right here, obviously, and Jake, our second team. We went out there and kind of pushed the lead up.
So it is interesting because we kind of gave Cappy some grief the other day, Dave. Cappy, would you like to? I don't want to put you out there.
No, it's
in
fine.
Front of Dave.
Actually, to be honest with you, Dave, everything that LeBron just said are the things that I was hoping he was going to say the day before. But the day before, it was more like, I don't have a position. I can play with anybody. I don't know what people are talking about, that kind of stuff. I was like, hey, how about just an ounce of humility? But everything he said there of, I've been watching the tape. I know who these guys are. I know how I could fit in. I know the things that I could bring to the table. That's what I was clamoring for the day before. That's all. Pretty simple.
So I was hoping, Dave, yesterday when he made that comment, like, who are these people? Like, I was literally hoping that he, by some grace of God, he happened to be in the car. It accidentally was flipped on to 710.
Stop
and he
with
was
the
listening to
accidental.
Cappy
he
yesterday.
listens every day. He listens to everything.
And would have literally just said, "Yeah, Cap, what now?"
Yeah, call me out by name is what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, well, I mean, I can understand your point. Listen, I think the fascinating part about team sports is that in order for a team to be really good, you need a bunch of individuals with healthy egos who also will sacrifice for the guy next to them. Mm-hmm. And so LeBron would not be able to function in the greatest basketball league in the world at age 40 years old if he didn't have that sense of ego, if he didn't also – he wouldn't still be entrenched in the endeavor if he didn't create enemies, real and imagined, sometimes in order to motivate himself. And so long as that is the fuel of the engine, but once he is in the middle of competition, he doesn't lose his cognitive abilities to think the game at a high level and still play for his teammates. I think the mix works just well. And listen, like, Cappy, I actually asked the question last night that prompted that answer, and it was about just the quick and easy chemistry that he showed with some guys he'd never played with before in LaRavia and Deandre Ayton. I think the reason he went back to that answer is because he's, I've been covering him play basketball for a decade now, and he specifically gave that answer to me because he wanted me to use it in whatever I was going to do with my coverage.
See that, George? George, you see that?
Listen, you ain't around for 23 years and not know, like, I'm going to give you the money quote so you can put it in your story.
Right. And he also probably knew, he probably was like, McMenamin's going to go on with Sedano and Kap tomorrow. Kap is a loudmouth, and Kap's a jerk. But you know what?
No question.
I'm going to hand this off to Dave so that Dave can stick it to Kap so I don't have to actually give Kap that shine, which is what I'm really looking for, Dave.
I think LeBron was just upset with you, Cap, that you would fly all the way across the country to see the Lakers play when he wasn't in the building. He's like, Where's the commitment to seeing us play when I'm playing? I don't see you flying road games to see me. You fly to New Orleans to see, the Luka and Austin Reeves version of the Lakers. But why aren't you flying across the country to see me? You
know what, Dave? I'll tell you what. I may have to look at what game I want to look at and go to. I may have to go see LeBron on the road.
I think that's the answer here.
George, what game should I go
Cappy,
see LeBron
the easiest way to do that, right?
Yeah, is what? Is when you're doing one of these games?
Go to Intuit Dome.
Oh.
Go to Intuit Dome. It's easy. See him on the road.
That's a good idea.
That's it.
I'd actually like to go to Dallas. That would be my place. I'd want to see the Lakers play in Dallas.
Oh, when they come here? Yeah, good luck getting a ticket for that game.
No, I'm saying I want to go to Dallas. I'll be there in the house. That's a Cappy Lappy night when the Dallas Mavericks
that's what I'm
down.
saying. Good luck getting a ticket here when Luka comes back. Yeah, good luck with that.
Hey, Dave, let me ask you this. Again, many people, I will put myself in this category, did have questions about what happens when LeBron comes back. Because I look at Luka last night, I look at Austin Reeves, and those two guys have become, and they should be, your number one and your number two scoring option. And LeBron didn't get in the way of that, although there might be nights where he might have to do a bit more of the scoring. For me, I'm looking at how he does with the other guys that he hadn't played with.
I think it can't be just LeBron. because LeBron can be an awesome teammate when he shines the sun at you, but he can be a bit of a withering teammate when you get the cold shoulder of his disappointment. And so you're going to get both when you're a teammate of LeBron. And so Ayton's going to need then, when he gets the cold shoulder, to have the locker room support of someone who's, kind of more even keel, like an Austin Reeves, or even just the other kind of role players, being his hype man. I mean, what I've seen through the first couple months of the season is that he has pretty much the entire locker room as his brother's keeper. And you hear a constant stream of support when he is there post-game and engagement. And it's Jared Vanderbilt and it's Marcus Smart. And now, obviously, LeBron's going to be in that mix. LeBron, through his play, especially if he's going to play as much on ball as we saw last night, which that was somewhat surprising to me, because last year I spoke to LeBron about how he's been working in this latter stage of his career to be better off ball and be more of a catch and shoot threat from 3-point land. But if LeBron's going to still be on the ball this much, yeah, he can obviously impact what Ayton's able to do, because he will be the guy giving Ayton the ball. And I just thought the unspoken kind of reading the game that they showed, especially in some of the fast break opportunities, it was pretty high level. And that's speaking LeBron's language. Ayton can give goofy interviews and he can play, eclectic music in the locker room, whatever. If he can produce on the court and be able to read the proper reads, both offensively and defensively, he will be just fine with LeBron James.
So, Dave, I read an excerpt from your story about the executive from the Western Conference and the scout, I guess, from the Eastern Conference that you spoke to, which I think both guys are accurate in their assessment, right? That, and I would love to get kind of a little more detail about just kind of your thoughts on those conversations. And the Eastern scout basically said that, look, LeBron makes the game easy, which you've alluded to, right? Like, he's going to get you easy looks, like if you're DeAndre Ayton. But then the Western executive is like, yeah, I don't know. You mentioned the cold shoulder. There's going to be times because of his lack of effort or interest or whatever that could frustrate LeBron potentially. So after having those conversations, clearly it's something we're going to have to keep an eye on throughout the season. But what are some things that maybe didn't make the cut in the story that also kind of stick out to you about those conversations?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I tried to speak to a variety of people, both within the Lakers organization and then people that have worked in the NBA for a while and have seen scenarios where it would be a player coming back off of injury or either in their time in the NBA, they've heard stories about some of the Lakers players and their tendencies. I think one of the more concerning aspects, or this was mostly on the outside, to be honest, the people that shared this, was the DeAndre Ayton factor and whether his early season averages and kind of overall approach to the game of basketball would be able to thrive when you have LeBron in the mix. And, I think Cappy alluded to the one quote about, hey, like LeBron, the only two players closer in age on the Lakers to him than to Bronny are Maxi Kleber and Marcus Smart. So everybody else on the team is closer in age to Bronny, meaning that he is in a different headspace generally. And for a 26-year-old like DeAndre Ayton, who wore out his welcome in Phoenix, who quite frankly never really got off the ground in Portland, and everybody knows that this is kind of his last chance to rekindle what was a very promising NBA career, that is a lot of baggage coming into a scenario where the other guy, the 40-year-old guy, is trying to make sure that he dots every I and crosses every T in order to give himself the best chance to add another championship before his time in basketball was up. And so there is a bit of natural tension there with the kind of competing spots in those two people's lives is. And will it work? And it'll be fascinating to watch. The talent is there, which is a huge part of why there will be an effort from everyone involved to make it work, because it's not a lost cause. It's just how much patience will LeBron and others in the organization have in order to get that talent producing at a consistent level the way that some of the other professionals on this team do.
My money is on Ayton. I think Ayton's on the right team with the right, I'll call it mentorship, perhaps even the right coach. My money's on Ayton. Dave, I'm just curious, did you observe anything last night in the post-game locker room? Because everything you're talking about is so fascinating to me. You've got almost 41-year-old LeBron. LeBron's got his son on the team. Most of the players are closer in age and probably of interest to Bronny. And there's a celebration of a victory last night, and this is LeBron's first game in the locker room, afterwards, as a player, et cetera. Any observations from the post-game locker room last night from you that maybe is different?
Here's something actually from the Jazz locker room that I found interesting. I went to pop my head in the Jazz locker room to see Kevin Love, who I covered for 4 years in Cleveland, and we remain, we have a rapport. And Kevin told me he went to see LeBron on Monday. They watched Monday Night Football together at LeBron's place. And Kevin enjoys wine. Is, I think, a business partner with Channing Frye. They have their own label, and we know that LeBron loves wine. And Kevin told me that LeBron wasn't drinking. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. I figured you guys would be, having some really expensive stuff to celebrate getting back together. And so I was talking to LeBron in the locker room afterwards, and he said, gearing up for the return, he hadn't drank in about 3 weeks, which I just thought that was interesting in terms of, like, he still is making this a priority and still putting kind of maximum effort into this. I thought that just gave a little bit of a window into LeBron's doing everything he can to put his best foot forward with this situation.
Now that,
by the way, I
too
have it is an excellent nugget. I too have abstained from wine until Thanksgiving, at least. I'm giving myself a month cleanse, Dave.
Good man.
Because on a day like that, with all the food and probably all the wine, I wanted to make sure that I'm in peak wine performance on a day like that.
I think it also shows your commitment.
I took a little bit of a break until New Orleans.
Oh, I know you can't help it in New Orleans, Dave. Drinking is an everyday part of life in New Orleans. They look for reasons to drink in New Orleans. That's a great nugget, though, Dave, that LeBron gave up booze for however long in preparation for, hey, I got to get back out there, and I'm 40, almost 41, and I got to be in tip-top shape, and alcohol ain't going to help it. That's a good nugget, Dave. Appreciate that.
The great Dave McMenamin.
Great stuff.
Thank you for joining us. You see me.